Welcome to my channel, viewers. So today I'm going to talk about fuel economy, and of course there's a million other videos out there, and mine might not be the most extravagant ones, but I'm going to talk about the basics. I'm going to talk about basically about 10 topics on what you can do, what you can check to make sure your car, if it's getting poor fuel economy, will get better fuel economy. And if you are just trying to improve your fuel economy, I'm going to talk about some things that are going to improve it. So first off, I want to say that I'm a former automotive technician of 20 years experience. So I've been around cars for quite some time, and I do have a very wide range of knowledge with cars. With that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. But first off, I want to say if you happen to visit New England and you're in the Northeast, such as Massachusetts, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and you do like popular outdoor tourist attractions, definitely click that subscribe button while it helps my little channel out. I hope that you can find some places with my outdoor attractions that you may visit just because of seeing them in my channel. And I also do outdoor photography and drone footage, and I put some nice music in the background. And if you're stressed at work one day and you just want to come home, you can just pop on my channel, and there's some nice relaxing music and great scenery, clips about 12 seconds long. And I also, as of this video, what I'm going to do is actually going to be vehicle maintenance tips and tricks. Anything informative or anything I find interesting, I'm going to put it up on my YouTube channel. So definitely, again, consider subscribing. First, I'm going to talk about all the reasons of why your car is actually getting bad fuel economy. And the first thing some of these topics that I'm going to cover are pretty, I want to say they're not very broad. They're more of a narrow range. So I'm going to talk about some topics that you may not even think about, or some of the videos that I watch may not even cover. All right, right off the bat, I'm going to get these right out of the way. So if you're clicking on this and you've got some kind of a truck, Jeep, or SUV, and you're wondering why you're getting bad fuel economy and you happen to be modifying this vehicle, obviously, right off the bat, if you're putting bigger tires on the vehicle, you cannot complain about your fuel economy. It's going to be the miles per gallon, not the miles per gallon. And then we're going to basically get into a few other things, but it is February right here in the Northeast, and if you were in a cold climate and we're wondering why, 4 months ago, back in July, August or something, you were getting 35 miles per gallon, and now you're getting 24 or 28 miles per gallon. The weather plays a big role in that, and temperature. I'm going to explain why that actually happens. So first off, with cold temperatures, not only is the vehicle going to work hard to actually drive down the road, the rolling resistance is going to be a lot higher because all these fluids in your differentials, instead of being like maple syrup, are going to be more like molasses when it's cold out. So you have these gears and they sit in your differentials and your transfer case, and when it gets cold, it all gets thick. So that just adds to more resistance, and your vehicle has to obviously work harder, and to work harder, you're gonna have to push the gas harder, and the vehicle is gonna have to compensate to keep the power and the speed that you want. Therefore, it's going to use more fuel to obviously burn enough fuel to get more power to keep that vehicle rolling at the same speed at a different temperature you would actually be rolling at. So I'm also gonna talk about some kind of different things that not everybody, and I mentioned this before, not everybody talks about. I'm going to have more of a narrow range of some things that you would actually never even think about would cause bad fuel economy. But I will get all the simple things out of the way, and you definitely want to stay to the end to watch some of the more of the topics that you wouldn't actually think about, because I'm going to tell you some of them, and but I'm going to make sense of it. I'm going to tell you why it's actually going to happen, and I'm going to explain why you're going to get poor fuel economy when I talk about these things. So first off, we'll go right to the simple things. Like I said, we're going to talk about the tire pressure. So if you're one of the people, you got an older car, and all these newer cars have got a tire pressure monitoring system, and you happen to have a sensor go dead, and you're just like, I'll look at the tires and they don't look flat. Well, if you've got a car that, say, the door jamb tells you to set the pressure at 32 PSI, and you happen to have all 4 tires this winter, and it's 20 degrees outside, and all your tires are basically at like 24, 25 PSI, that's also going to increase your rolling resistance. So that's going to lead to bad fuel economy, because now the car is going to have to work harder because the tires are lower and they're squishier, and the resistance is going to be higher. So you're going to have to push the gas to keep that same momentum that you want to get and that same speed you want to keep, but the tires are going to be kind of a force against you. Also keep in mind, if the temperature does drop 20 degrees, 10 to 20 degrees, that can actually differentiate the pressure in your tires from 2 to 4 PSI. So if it does happen to be about 20 degrees colder, you wake up and you go to sleep, and the next morning is 20 degrees colder, your tire pressure can actually change as much as 4 PSI. So obviously it's a good note to check your tires and keep them at a good pressure, especially in the winter time, or if you're on a road trip or something, the tires will actually warm up, but you primarily want to just check them when they're cold and the car has been sitting for a good amount of time. And obviously, if your tire pressure monitoring system is working good, then you don't have to worry as much. But there is also certain vehicles you can actually set a minimum threshold on your tire pressure, so it'll tell you when it goes below a certain pressure, so you can actually keep that, and certain vehicles allow you to actually set that. And sometimes some of your do-it-yourselfers can do it, and then there's other ones that have to be programmed with a scan tool. Driving characteristics, how you're driving. So when I was 20 years old, just like where I live right now on Route 7, I happen to be one of them people that just love to pass. So you're doing 60 miles an hour in a 55 and somebody's behind you, and for some odd reason you're going too slow for them. Just like I said, when I was 20, I did the same thing. And then when you realize that you actually both get to the same red light together, you accomplish nothing. So the optimum speed for fuel economy, actually by the EPA, is 35 to 60 miles an hour, and 65 miles an hour on the highway is kind of a good way to stay in the good threshold of fuel economy. Once you start pushing past 70, the vehicle and the drivetrain starts working harder, and therefore you're going to be using more fuel. So if you like to floor it all the time, or you've got a fun car, hopefully you don't even care about fuel economy. Next up, a real simple one, an air filter. So if you happen to bring your car into a garage, just ask your automotive technician the next time you go and bring it into the service department, hey, can you have the technician check my air filter? So if you have a dirty or a clogged air filter, it's going to basically make the engine work unnecessarily hard to pull air in, because the engine is actually an air pump. So the engine has to overcome the dirty filter, and to pull more air in, it has to work harder, which in time is going to actually burn more fuel. So have your air filter checked, or check it yourself. Moving on and keeping it simple to a little more of the extreme things that can actually happen. Next off, if you happen to be driving your car and it feels a little different, like you feel like you have to push the gas to make it move harder, or it doesn't coast down hills as much, there's a few things that actually can play a role in the rolling resistance of your car besides your tire pressure. So your brakes. What can happen with your brakes if your brakes aren't free? So there's actually pins and there's slide points and everything on your brakes. So when you push your brakes, your pads can move, and then when you release the brakes, they're actually going to pull a little bit away from the rotor. So if any of them slide points on the calipers or the pins are seized, as soon as you hit the brakes, what's going to happen is your brakes are actually going to slightly stick on a little bit. And there's a few simple ways you can check this, whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or you want to just have it brought into a shop. A real simple thing is to just get in a slight incline, and you can put the vehicle in neutral and push the brakes on real hard and let off the brakes. Obviously make sure it's safe, away from traffic. And if the car rolls with ease, then there's probably nothing sticking. But if you happen to push the brakes on and you release and the car doesn't really move that good, and it seems like there's a lot of resistance, and you probably have some sticking brake components, and you want to definitely have that checked out. Weight. So weight's going to play a huge role in your fuel economy. So if you're one of them people and it's kind of like winter's just breaking and they've got the discounted sale, and you go into Walmart and there's a bunch of stuff on clearance, and you also find like a bunch of potting soil or something, maybe say at the end of the fall, and you load your trunk up and you don't think about it till next spring, all this added weight is going to cause poorer fuel economy. Obviously, you're not going to be able to help that when you have passengers in there and you're going to add the added weight of people, but just, you know, the unnecessary stuff, if it doesn't need to be in your car, then get it out of there. The weight savings is going to actually save you in fuel economy costs. Next, simple on the list, if you're one of them people that thinks, oh, I'll put 93 octane in my car to get an extra 5 horsepower. Well, certain cars, this may vary if they're turbocharged or have some kind of a forced air induction, or they're tuned. This may play a good role in that. But obviously, again, if you're buying that car for fun, you probably aren't going to care about the fuel economy. But don't go saying, well, somebody told me to put 93 in my car that is normally actually designed to run 87, because you're just going to waste your money. Again, moving on, another simple one. So the correct tire and the tire size. So for you truck guys, if you want to go throw a load range D or E on your half-ton pickup or your Tacoma or your Nissan Frontier or some kind of a small Colorado or Canyon, obviously the added weight of the tire is going to kill your fuel economy. If you are someone with your regular minivan or your passenger car, obviously try to stick to what the manufacturer recommends and make sure the correct size of what is actually listed on the label of your door jamb is put on your car, because the bigger the tire, it's going to again create more rolling resistance, and in time it's going to cost you more in fuel. Going on right down the line. So if you have that nice little bright money light on your dashboard, the check engine light that we all dread, you think, oh no, it's turning on, I'm not going to be able to get home. Well, that light is scary, and it can mean some severe things, and it can also mean some minor things. If that light is on, you're definitely going to want to have that code red. And if you don't have any knowledge of what it is, do a little research yourself, or you're going to want to obviously talk to a trained professional or a mechanic and get their input and see what they recommend for something like that. But as simple as just an oxygen sensor that is actually bad, you can decrease your fuel economy by 20%. So that light, if it's on, that can cause all kinds of different issues if there's a bad sensor. Just a couple more after this one. This one's a fairly simple one again, and it's obviously an obvious one. So Aerodynamics, if you're a truck owner and you're putting a roof rack on, or say maybe you just got a family minivan and you want a cargo carrier on top of this thing to load up all your luggage for your vacation, these little things can also play a big role in fuel economy. So if you're worried about that, and you probably don't want to put a roof carrier or any added thing that's going to knock off the aerodynamics on your vehicle. Two more that I've got on the list before I'm going to wrap up this video that you're not really even going to think of. So the first one actually ties into the second one. The first one is worn suspension components on your car. So if you have a worn suspension component, if you have a bad control arm bushing, if you have a bad ball joint, if you have a bad tie rod end, these can take a big role in your alignment on your car. And I'm going to get into the alignment too. So what can happen is, first off, you want to have all the suspension checked in your car. So if you have a tie rod end, you have something, it's going to throw the alignment off, and it's going to make the car work harder because the wheels are actually going to be cocked in different directions or at different angles, and this will in time make the car burn more fuel. Also, your alignment is one of the most important things that people overlook. So most people drive their cars, and if the steering wheel's straight, they think nothing of it. If you happen to just have someone replace a tie rod and they said they counted the threads, well, if the thread's off by 5 degrees and you're driving down the road, your tires might be like this. So you may not know it or even notice it because the engine overcomes the force. But the alignment, if the alignment is bad, the car is going to be constantly fighting itself going down the road. Another thing for alignment wise is the safety. So in the winter, obviously a car can go into a skid, but if you have a bad alignment and the tires are already basically dragging against each other as soon as they hit a slippery surface like snow, or even if a manhole or you hit a little bit of oil or something that's on the road and it's already fighting against it, it can actually make the car poor or handle poor. So you want to definitely bring your car into the shop and make sure all of your alignment and all of your suspension components are tight, because that will also play a big role in your fuel economy. Well, anyway, this is a very brief video along with the other million ones out there. I really hope this gave you some valuable information. If it did, give it a like. If there's something that this helped you out with, definitely comment and let me know. Or comment and let me know what you're actually going to do now because you're getting poorer fuel economy. Or let me know if you never thought of some of these things. Again, consider subscribing to my channel, and thanks for watching.